basement once, but I still see the doll every time I close my eyes. When my wife and I bought the house, we weren't looking for anything special, just somewhere quiet with enough space for our daughter and far away from the city noise. The listing was a steal. 2-story Victorian-style home, a little weathered on the outside, but solid bones. The previous owner had died in his sleep, we were told. No family, everything included. That included the basement. We didn't check it out right away. The door was wedged shut with layers of old paint, and we were focused on cleaning up the living areas. It wasn't until the 3rd week, when the plumber needed to inspect some piping, that I finally pried the door open. The air that came out was thick, cold, and smelled faintly of damp earth and something else, something old. The stairs groaned as I descended, flashlight in hand. Since the single dangling bulb at the bottom didn't work, the beam caught shelves lined with dust, old paint cans, broken furniture, and then it caught her. In the far corner of the room, nestled between a rotting trunk and a collapsed rocking chair, was a doll, nearly life-sized, maybe 3 feet tall, pale, porcelain face, faded red dress. Her hair was brittle and matted in places, like it had once been combed often but hadn't been touched in decades. She sat slumped slightly to one side, arms limp, head tilted just enough that her painted eyes seemed to be looking directly at me. I stood frozen for a moment. Something about her felt wrong. Not just creepy doll wrong, but something deeper, like she wasn't forgotten, she was left. I backed out of the basement quickly and told the plumber I couldn't find the valve. We didn't go back down for a while. That night, I had a dream, the kind that feels too real. I was standing in the basement doorway, staring down the steps, when I heard the sound of porcelain scraping against concrete. Something slow, like it was dragging. I woke up drenched in sweat. Things started happening after that. Our daughter, Lucy, who was 4 at the time, started talking to someone in her room. At first we thought it was an imaginary friend, but the things she said made the hairs on my arms stand up. She said she doesn't like being alone anymore. Pooh, sweetie, the girl downstairs, she said her name is Mary. I didn't tell my wife about the doll. I didn't want to scare her, but the name, that caught me off guard. We hadn't told Lucy anything about the basement. Then toys started moving. Just small things at first, blocks stacked in odd places, a stuffed animal left on the stairs. Once, I found one of Lucy's plastic teacups perfectly placed on the kitchen counter, filled with muddy water. I asked Lucy if she'd done it. She shook her head. She wanted some for her tea party. I finally went back into the basement the next day, determined to get rid of the damn thing. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that it was just a creepy old toy messing with my head. But when I opened the basement door, the doll wasn't in the corner anymore. She was sitting on the bottom step. I didn't scream, but I felt everything inside me tighten. My hands went cold, my throat dry. I stood there for what felt like minutes, just staring at her. Her head was still tilted, those painted eyes still unblinking, but now they were closer. So much closer. I grabbed a tarp from the garage, went back down, and wrapped her up without looking at her face. Her porcelain skin felt cold and rigid through the fabric. I carried her out to the garbage bin behind the house and stuffed her inside. That night, I barely slept. I kept listening for footsteps on the stairs, but the house was silent. The next morning, the garbage bin was empty. I assumed the truck had come early, but when I went inside, my blood ran cold. The doll was back in the basement, back in the corner, exactly where I had found her the first time. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't. I just shut the basement door and avoided it. For days, I tried to ignore the little things. Cold spots in the hallway, whispers I couldn't trace, Lucy giggling at someone I couldn't see. Then one night, Lucy screamed. We ran to her room and found her standing in the middle of the floor, pointing toward the closet. She was in there, she sobbed. She was watching me from the dark. I opened the closet, nothing. That same night, I went down into the basement again. Not out of courage, but out of desperation. I carried a hammer and a flashlight, and I planned to smash the damn thing and burn whatever was left. But when I reached the bottom step, the doll was gone. The basement was empty. I stood there, light shaking in my hand, scanning every corner, dust, cobwebs, silence. And then I heard it right behind me, a whisper. She lives here now. I spun around, nothing. I didn't run. I walked out slowly, carefully, up the stairs. I closed the basement door, and this time I locked it. I even nailed it shut. We moved out 3 days later. We told ourselves it was the plumbing, the drafty windows, the mold. We never mentioned the doll, not to Lucy, not to each other. But last week, we got a package. No return address. Inside was a single item wrapped in a dirty, faded red cloth. It was porcelain, and her head was tilted just slightly to the side.